When the United States began imposing comprehensive sanctions on China's semiconductor industry, the Netherlands seemed to be the first country to quickly follow suit. Just half a month ago, the Dutch government announced a one-year freeze on the assets and intellectual property of a Chinese semiconductor company with a 60-year history. Soon after, the company's original CEO was forcibly replaced by a Dutch national. Many industry insiders believe this looks like a carefully orchestrated scheme. The reason is that this company was originally a Dutch enterprise and was only fully acquired by Chinese capital 5 years ago. Now, under the pretext of a so-called national security review, the Netherlands has frozen its assets, essentially regaining control of the company without paying a single cent. So, why did the Netherlands suddenly target this Chinese firm? And what actions might China take next? If you like our video content, please click to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can receive all our latest video content. Now, let's get into today's topic. What many people may not realize is that in recent years, China's semiconductor industry has been rising at an unprecedented pace. As of 2025, China's self-sufficiency rate in semiconductor equipment has increased to 45%, and the penetration rate of domestic equipment in the memory chip sector has reached 40%. This means China is steadily reducing its heavy dependence on foreign equipment and technology, with its industrial chain becoming increasingly self-reliant. Although the US still maintains an edge in the high-end GPU field, Chinese companies are weakening this technological dependence through architectural innovation and the development of a domestic computing ecosystem. We all know that in the semiconductor field, the most difficult hurdle to overcome is still the lithography machine. But now, SMIC is gradually overcoming this challenge through DUV multiple exposure technology, having already achieved a technological breakthrough at the 5nm process node. This shatters the long-held belief that only EUV lithography machines can enable advanced manufacturing. Its current technological level is now close to TSMC's early-stage capabilities, and small-scale trial production is expected to begin by the end of 2025. An American magazine once reported that if China can continue maintaining this pace of technological advancement, its share of the global AI chip market could rise from less than 10% today to 35% by 2030. Such a shift could shake the United States' long-standing dominance in the field of artificial intelligence. Of course, China's urgent drive to make breakthroughs in semiconductors largely stems from its desire to break the long-standing technological blockade built by the West. Looking back at the past few years, semiconductors have always been at the core of the US's multiple rounds of sanctions against China. As early as October 2023, the US banned domestic companies from exporting EUV lithography equipment and key components to Chinese chip manufacturers such as SMIC and YMTC. Once that ban took effect, SMIC's mass production schedule was forced to be delayed by 3 to 6 months. By 2025, more and more Chinese companies have been added to the US Entity List, including key AI chip firms like Cambricon. These companies are prohibited from purchasing advanced overseas foundry services. At the same time, the US has required global cloud service providers not to use any Chinese-made chips to supply computing power to Chinese AI companies. As a result, exports of high-performance GPUs, such as NVIDIA's A100 and H100 to China, have plummeted by 70%, further pushing Chinese chipmakers to accelerate the shift toward domestic alternatives. And now, in this ongoing semiconductor war, the Netherlands has also entered the battlefield. To cooperate with the US's suppression campaign, the Dutch government is attempting to seize control of a semiconductor company worth $10 billion. What exactly is happening behind all of this? On September 30th of this year, the Dutch Ministry of Economic Affairs suddenly invoked the Commodity Supply Act, a law dating back to the Cold War era, and without any prior warning, issued an asset freeze order against Nexperia and its 30 global subsidiaries. According to the order, This Chinese semiconductor company, Nexperia, was completely prohibited from adjusting its assets, handling its intellectual property, conducting business activities, or making personnel changes. This decision effectively pressed the pause button on the company's core operations. From R&D and capacity expansion to customer deliveries, everything came to a halt. For example, at Nexperia's factory in Germany, the plant had planned to deliver around 2 million automotive chips to manufacturers such as Tesla and Volkswagen. However, once the order took effect, all those chips were forcibly sealed and could no longer be shipped. The very next day after the Dutch government issued the order, a local court, without going through a complete judicial review, suspended China's Wingtech Technologies management rights over Nexperia. Wingtech's 99.99% equity in Nexperia was transferred to a third-party custodian, leaving the Chinese side with only a symbolic ownership of one share. This effectively meant that China had almost completely lost control of the company. At the same time, Nexperia's core intellectual property was also frozen, with an explicit ban on transferring or licensing it to any Chinese entity. On the surface, the Dutch government justified its actions by citing national security and supply chain risk reduction. But according to many industry observers, this move looks more like a zero-cost takeover of a Chinese enterprise. So, did this Chinese company really harm Dutch interests? In reality, Nexperia is just a regular business. It originated from the Standard Products division of Philips Semiconductors and carries over 60 years of technological expertise and industrial experience. In 2017, Nexperia, officially separated from the Philips system, began independent operations under Dutch law and was renamed Nexperia. In the global market for power discrete devices, Nexperia ranks third, and in the field of ESD protection chips for automotive electronics, it's actually the world's #1 supplier. To my knowledge, the company's major clients include top-tier international firms such as Apple and Tesla. However, in the years following its independence, Nexperia's weaknesses began to surface. The most prominent issue was its low investment in R&D, which had long accounted for less than 5% of its revenue, a figure far below what's necessary in the highly technology-intensive semiconductor industry. This underinvestment caused the company to fall behind in emerging areas such as third-generation semiconductors. Meanwhile, the global semiconductor industry has been gradually shifting toward advanced process technologies, and the profit margins of mature nodes, from 40 nanometers to 130 nanometers, have been steadily shrinking. As a company primarily focused on power devices, Nexperia inevitably felt the impact. Under fierce competition from international giants such as STMicroelectronics and Infineon, its global market share in discrete devices was squeezed to just 14% by 2018. The company's turning point came around 2018, when China's Wingtech Technology led an acquisition deal, purchasing approximately 33.66% of Nexperia's shares for 11.5 billion renminbi. The following year, Wingtech invested an additional 20 billion renminbi, increasing its stake to 79.98%. Finally, in 2020, Wingtech completed a full acquisition of Nexperia for over 33 billion renminbi, achieving 100% ownership. This became the largest cross-border merger and acquisition in the history of China's semiconductor industry. Nexperia drew such strong attention from China primarily because of its globally leading position in automotive-grade power devices. Whether in discrete devices, logic components, or MOSFETs, Nexperia consistently ranks first worldwide. Its automotive chips are widely used by major automakers such as Tesla, Volkswagen, and BYD, with each electric vehicle containing roughly 1,000 Nexperia chips on average. It's important to note that automotive-grade chips have extremely high technical barriers. They involve complex design and manufacturing processes and must pass a series of rigorous quality and reliability certifications. The development cycle, from project initiation to mass production, typically spans 3 to 5 years. In contrast, Chinese domestic companies currently hold less than 10% of the global market share in this field. Therefore, by acquiring Nexperia, China was able to rapidly gain access to mature process technologies and large-scale manufacturing experience, an essential step toward accelerating the upgrade of its semiconductor industry. In the past few years, Nexperia has achieved remarkable growth under Chinese management. Since 2022, the company's annual revenue has reached 2.36 billion euros, and its gross profit margin has risen from 25% before the acquisition to 42.4%. Nexperia has rapidly become one of WinG Technology's most profitable and strategically valuable core assets. Based on its projected 2025 profit of 3 billion renminbi, Nexperia's valuation could reach as high as $12.9 billion. Moreover, over the past 5 years, Nexperia has contributed about 130 million euros in corporate income tax to the Dutch government and has paid off all of its historical debts, achieving zero debt operations. Given that the company operates fully in compliance with Dutch laws and contributes significantly to the local economy, many are asking, why is the Netherlands targeting this Chinese-owned company? In fact, Nexperia's sudden crackdown by the Dutch authorities is largely due to its strategic importance in the automotive-grade chip sector. It possesses core manufacturing technologies and serves customers across the entire European automotive supply chain. By stepping in so abruptly, the Dutch government clearly aims to bring the company's critical assets back under domestic control, both to prevent technology from flowing overseas and to strengthen Europe's grip on the semiconductor industry. Although the Netherlands cited national security risks as justification, it has yet to present any concrete evidence. To many observers, this approach closely mirrors how the U.S. has suppressed Chinese tech firms in recent years, driven less by real security concerns and more by unease and resistance toward China's rapid technological progress. It's worth noting that as early as the end of 2024, Nexperia's parent company, WinG Technology, had already been added to the U.S. entity list. By 2025, the U.S. went further and introduced the so-called penetration rule, meaning that once a company is listed, any subsidiary in which it holds more than 50% ownership also falls under the same restrictions, even if those subsidiaries are registered in third countries. Therefore, the timing of the Netherlands' move against Nexperia likely wasn't coincidental. It may well have been a gesture of alignment with the United States. After all, the U.S. has previously provided the Netherlands with 3 billion euros in subsidies under the Chips and Science Act, on the condition that it sides with Washington in curbing China's technological rise. For the Netherlands, this action effectively kills two birds with one stone. On one hand, it cooperates with the U.S. crackdown on China's semiconductor industry. On the other, it reclaims Nexperia's assets at virtually zero cost, while also weakening China's technological supply chain in key sectors such as electric vehicles and industrial control. Yet, they may have underestimated China. In recent years, China's progress in science and technology has been nothing short of remarkable. Whether it's breakthroughs in foundational technologies or the accelerating pace of domestic replacements for high-end equipment, the momentum is undeniable. Judging by the trend, it may only be a matter of time before China significantly reduces its dependence on Western technology. External restrictions certainly pose challenges, but to truly halt China's technological advancement, that I think won't be so easy. So what about you? What's your take on this? To not miss out on our future projects and news updates, please make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. We will continue to provide you with more exciting and interesting content.